All right, trip planning, itinerary, and logistics. Number one, identify your objective river that you would like to float. Then figure out what it takes to get on that river. Are there permits required? When do you need to start applying for those permits? Various ways that you can research that information is come into your local rafts, downriver equipments. There are various guidebooks out there, such as River Maps, Belknaps, and books from Matt Leidecker that do talk about various stretches of river and the permits required, as well as give some info on contacting the managing agencies of that river section. Those managing agencies are also certainly a good resource to figure out what needs to happen. Then you can certainly talk to other boaters, and there are some online resources such as mountainbuzz.com. Next, as you start to think about the permits, restrictions, dates, there will also be required gear that's part of the river. Next, you will have to consider the restrictions that go along with the permit, as well as the required gear. Once you have applied for your permit, if you are one of the lucky ones to be able to secure the permit, you need to make sure you follow the next steps in paying for that permit, printing it out, and double and triple checking that everything is squared away, so when you show up to the put-in, that you would not get turned away because of some clerical error. All right, the next main topic is on-river itinerary. So some things to think about. How many days do you plan on spending on the river? How many river miles a day do you need to cover? A good rule of thumb certainly depends on the river, the flows, the weather, and all sorts of things, but 2 to 4 miles per hour tends to be a pretty average speed. All right, some other things to think about are campsites that are available. If you're going in the middle of the summer on a trip such as Westwater, you may want a camp that offers a little more shade. If you're going in October or November, you may want to pick a camp that gets a little bit more sun. Also, in regards to camp, you want to make sure that your group size corresponds with the camp size. Sometimes there are some group size restrictions, such as on Ruby Horse Thief. They have some 15-person campsites, as well as some 25-person campsites. If you have a group of 20, you will not be able to book a 15-person campsite. All right, some other things to think about in regards to on-river itinerary, or what other activities does the group want to do? Are there some side hikes worth checking out? Are there some pictographs or some ruins that you can get to? Is photography part of somebody's wish list, and is there a cool feature that you want to pull over and make sure to get some good pictures of? Make sure that that's built into your daily itinerary. Another thing to think of is layover days. If you are able to spend a layover day or two, you want to pick a campsite that really is conducive to that. So one that maybe has a nice big beach, good for lounging and games, or one that has some really good side hikes connected to it. And then you will also want to figure out how the kitchen and food planning is going to work. All this type of stuff are just things that need to get figured out ahead of time, so that as everyone is planning for the trip, everyone's on the same page, and when you actually get on the river, things are going as expected. That leads into number 3, and that's execute your plan. In regards to executing your plan, certainly understand that there are lots of variables and there will be hiccups along the way. Planning you've done ahead of time, the easier it will be to overcome some of those obstacles. One great thing that you can do is to make sure everybody in your group has a list of all trip participants with their cell numbers and emergency contacts. And the next big topic is OffRiver Logistics. We do have some great resources on our website as far as spreadsheets go for keeping track of meals, group expenses, gear, and that type of stuff. You will definitely want to do your best to get all the expenses figured out before the trip launches. It is much more difficult to try and collect and get things squared away after the trip. All right, some other things to think about when it comes to off-river logistics is how is everyone getting to and from the river? How many vehicles are you going to have? Who will the drivers be? How many trailers are in your group? A side note, especially if you have newer people on your trip that haven't done much overnight trips or much trip planning, make sure that they understand the number of days on the river does not include travel time. So we have heard stories in the store of folks that went through all the labor to plan a trip, and at the last minute some in their group have to drop out because they took 4 days off of work for a 4-day river trip but didn't realize there was an 8-hour drive to the put-in and a 12-hour drive to get home. So make sure that is factored in. You also want to discuss how the shuttle's going to be run. Are you going to do it yourself, or are you going to hire a professional? If you do hire a shuttle company, make sure you understand what they need from you to be able to transport your vehicle. All right, another good topic would be to get a post-trip gathering together. Sometimes here at Downriver we'll do two post-trip gatherings. One, we'll meet up at the store where we've got a nice big parking lot, hose, brush, soap, and we'll make sure all the group gear and boats get cleaned up. And then a couple weeks after the trip, we'll get together with everyone's pictures and go through a little slideshow and talk about the trip. In regards to that, that's a great time to reflect on the trip and talk about the things that went well and things that can be improved upon to make trips better in the future. And most importantly, you want to make sure that you are having fun. Part of the planning process can be daunting, but if you don't enjoy the planning process, it's really hard to plan good river trips. Make sure you have fun in the planning process, and then certainly make sure you and the group are having fun when you're on the river, because that's what it's all about. Thanks for tuning in today, and for more information, check out our website, downriverequip.com, or come on into the store. We hope to see you on the river.